Hello, friends. Thank you so much for joining me for this video response to Robin's reflections. Earlier today, she came out with a tarot tag that I just had to jump on, and it's called the Beetlejuice tarot tag. And also, Robin, thank you so much for shouting out the recent tarot tomfoolery live that I did with Logan from Larkin Legend and Tegan from Cosmic Creeper over on Logan's channel. Logan surprised me with a set of prompts based on Twilight, and I couldn't have been happier. Tegan was already in the know, so I was the only one that was a bit blindsided, but in like the best way possible. And I think this tag likewise will be just as fun. I love the movie Beetlejuice. I have not seen the sequel, so please, those of you who have seen it, give me your thoughts without the spoilers, of course. I've been getting some mixed reviews from people on whether they thought it was good or not, but I think regardless, I would still like to see it. So these 7 prompts are quotations, quotes from the movie. Very well selected, Robin. And let's go ahead and start with the first prompt. It's showtime, a deck that feels cinematic. The very first deck that immediately came to mind is this one right here, which happens to be my handmade Majors Only Twilight tarot deck. I am shocked that this did not make it onto the Tarot Tomfoolery Twilight tag. I'm really, really surprised by that, but it didn't. And so it's got to make an appearance here, right? So I did talk about this more in the July Three Girls Month, One Monthly Catch Up video, and I can go ahead and link that if you're interested in a bit more detail about the backstory of this deck and the genesis of it. But essentially, I made this deck in memory of my sister. She and I were huge Twilight fans. When the books came out, we read them, we devoured the movies and went to see them together when they came out. And so I just have a lot of great memories of my sister in relation to this book and movie franchise. So again, very, very handmade, and I think that adds to its charm. I just love like the tactile sensation of this deck. And of course, I had to choose this deck because, I mean, literally a good chunk of these images are taken from the movies, whether they're in the movie, in the films themselves or like as promotional images or posters for the movies. The next prompt is, I'm the ghost with the most, a ghoulish deck. So my choice for this prompt is this playing card deck that was gifted by Logan. And this is the Yokai playing card deck. And this is the name of the company, Dudada Playground, I believe. And this is a deck that I haven't used yet, but I plan to very, very soon. I am not in the know of yokai. I am not familiar with a lot of the lore. And so I do have like aspirations of kind of making my own little guidebook based on the kind of research I do as I work with this deck and learn more about these different kind of yokai. And what's helpful is that you have the English name here for the different yokai, so that will be helpful in terms of my research. But this feels like a very ghoulish deck to me, and a lot of fun. I do not do playing card deck divination. That is something that I would like to learn. I'm aiming for maybe next year to start learning that. But in the meantime, I do think that this can make for like a great Oracle style deck. So that is kind of my more like short-term goal and aspiration, like my more immediate goal and intention for this deck. And there is one yokai that I love especially. Oh yes, of course. Kitsune. Oh, this one from the, oh gosh, what's the name of the movie? Princess Mononoke. I did not realize this was their name, but I just know them as like the tree spirits, but very familiar image there, but that was not the one that I was thinking of. This one's hilarious. I mean, you've got a number of kind of funny type imagery, but where is she? Here. This is a yokai I am familiar with, and just in terms of seeing other iterations of her in different art pieces and such. And this is like I think it's like the two-mouthed woman, or the woman with two mouths. Futakuchi Ona. I think I probably butchered that, but I just love her so much. The next prompt is, I myself am strange and unusual. A deck that's weird but lovable. And my choice for this was Tarot of the Sweet Twilight, because I do think this deck does have that kind of strange, eccentric, weird factor. You know me. If you have been on my channel, you know that I love like quirky, weird, creepy, eccentric decks. And so I think this falls in line with that, but in a lovable way. Like, I don't look at these images and get any type of like sinister vibe from them. To me, this has always been a deck with a little more levity than some of my other decks. I mean, certainly with any deck, you can explore the shadow and there can be some maybe more difficult readings and messages, but on the whole, the overall, I feel, mood of this deck is on the lighter side, at least for me. I just have a lot of fun with this deck and with the imagery, and so while perhaps a little weird, very lovable. The next prompt is, my whole life is a dark room. A deck that's photogenic, or a deck that makes you feel like you're looking into a photo. So the one I chose is very on the nose, but that is the Lenormand deck by Dawn Michelle, the Rusted Lenormand, which does use stock photography. I just think Dawn Michelle did a fantastic job of curating the images and then further manipulating the imagery and stylizing the photos to make the deck feel very cohesive. And there is not a single image that I dislike. She just really knocked it out of the park with this. And this, might be a deck that I need to break out very soon, because it definitely has that autumnal feel for me. But don't think this deck gets enough love and attention. I think Lenormand in general doesn't get enough love and attention, but perhaps we shall see the turning of the tides with some Lenormand series that I've seen popping up from different content creators. So that makes me very happy. The next prompt is, nice fucking model. Details, details, details. A deck that shines in the details. For this prompt, I decided to go in the direction of production details. And so my choice is the Tarot of a Moon Garden borderless deck and book set. So let me zoom out maybe a little bit here. You've got, a nice hard box that isn't obnoxiously big like some of those Llewellyn boxes that we're familiar with. And then this comes with one of these spread layouts, poster, I don't know what you want to call this, that shows the Wheel of the Year spread that is discussed in more detail in the guidebook. So this is like a nice thought. I'm wondering if something like this was included in the very original printing of this deck when there was the guidebook and the deck, and then maybe this was also part of it. I'm not sure. But here is the companion book that was long out of print. I am so happy to have it. And again, production-wise, very nicely done. I don't have any complaints. It's a nice, respectable size. You know, this all fits into this box. You've got some decorative colored details along with a colored rendering of each of the cards. So I think this is well done. And then, of course, you have the deck itself, which the images are enlarged. And it's in this like kind of like elongated shape, which I personally like. Normally, I am not a fan of this, you know, shiny metallic, you know, gilt edging, even though I love the color purple, because it cuts into my hands when shuffling, but because they chose to print this on a nice flexible linen cardstock, it actually doesn't hurt my hands at all. It shuffles really nicely. And I think just the pumped up saturation also helps. So yeah, just loving the whole production overall. And I have this in order because I plan to do a different video focusing on this deck that I haven't gotten to yet. But yeah, I'm just really happy to have this version. I have a few different other versions. The next prompt is, I don't think we survived that crash. A deck that brings the harsh truths into the light. At first, I thought of the Reclaim Oracle, but then I was afraid I was being too predictable, so I chose something else. But then I feel like this choice is also predictable, and that is Tarot of Mystical Moments. Certainly, if you've been on my channel, you know that I've had some very meaningful readings with this deck, and it is definitely one that has given me some harsh reminders and some harsh truths. Not in like a bitchy or cruel way, which is very honest and direct. And, you know, yes, this deck is just beautiful aesthetic-wise, but it definitely goes beyond the surface level of just being pretty art and pretty collage. For me, I've had, yeah, very profound experiences with this deck. The final prompt is, and you let Beetlejuice out and you didn't put him back. A deck that can get a little out of pocket sometimes. I had to choose the Everyday Witch. Speaking of predictable, but I had to, because this is another one of those decks where the visual aesthetic, you know, it's kind of cartoony style art, is perhaps misleading in that it might seem to be more of a lighthearted deck, or a, you know, deck that maybe you don't take as seriously, or some might find to be a little bit juvenile in its aesthetic. But I don't know, we have a long relationship, and she has definitely given me a lot of sass, a lot of attitude, and I permit it because we are besties. You know, because she is a kindred deck, that is the only reason I permit it. So yeah, for sure, she can bring on the attitude, and I love her. I love her regardless. So do not let this fun, whimsical art style fool you. because there's definitely some spiciness with the Everyday Witch. And that is the end of this tag. So thank you to Robin once again for a fun time. And I will, of course, have her video linked in the description, if I didn't already say that, as well as the most recent Tarot Tomfoolery, where we do the Twilight Tarot tag. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and until the next time, take care.